All right, it's our weekly feature. It is In the Crosshairs with JD and Clay, but this week, well, we've got JD. Clay will probably come along here in moments anyway. Well, good afternoon, JD. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing good. Good afternoon to you, Jay.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope you had a great weekend.
I did. It was a real good weekend. We had what we call Second Amendment Day. It's not actually just a specific day, but we get a bunch of our friends together and family, and we all go out and shoot guns at a gun range all day. And it was great, man. We shot all kinds of them from, your 17 all the way up to the 50 cal. I got a lot of video. I got a lot of editing I got to do tonight. I'm going to actually employ my oldest daughter to help me because she can edit stuff a lot faster than this old guy can. So
right on.
She can earn some money on the way doing it too. So
sure, why not? Of course, you can probably catch those videos at gunsofthe701.com.
You bet. You're going to be able to catch it on there, and then we're going to have it on our YouTube channel and Facebook page. So it should be.
Yeah, you'll get a chance
to. What's that, Jay?
I was just going to say you'll get a chance to see JD sight in that Henry 22 at 110 yards.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I did that. They did that last week out at my dad's place. I got a gun range out there, but doing the iron sights even at 50 yards when the guy gets a little older, I can see far good, but close-up's getting a little sketchy for me on iron sights. But when the sun's bright, I can see them all right. It's that 110 yards. I was definitely pretty happy with that when I shot that last group out there. And shot a lot of lever actions out there Saturday too, out at the Second Amendment Day. It was great, and every kind of firearm basically you can think of. So it was awesome, Jay. I wish you could have been there, man.
Look who's joined us. Looks like Clay is in the fold
there he
now.
is.
I found the gremlins again in the system. I'm here, though.
All right, gentlemen, we're all back together. You can catch it here each and every Monday at 12:30 in the Crosshairs. Let's start off. We've got a few things to talk about. We're going to start off this week. The Obama Foundation recently announced an initiative titled My Brother's Keeper, now to help young men of color and their communities remain safe from violent crime, and provides education opportunities and financial resources and more. JD, tell us a little bit more about this and what you got on this.
Clay said he wanted to hit this right away, Jay.
Oh, Clay?
If you don't mind,
Okay.
I'm going to let him take that right off.
Yeah, Clay, go ahead.
Yeah, well, of course, we all know that Obama was not a friend of the Second Amendment while he was in office. But here's what I got out of this whole discussion looking at this article. I'm really going to point out the narrative changes and some of the wording they use, because this is what they do to make it sound like it's reasonable. Right away he calls it challenges of reducing, quote, gun violence, which is nothing but Democrat policy to essentially make us all criminals and get rid of guns. I mean, that's what they mean. There's no such thing as gun violence. And then how gun ownership has become an ideological and partisan issue. Well, not really. They made it that way. They pitted the Republicans against the Democrats, as most of the time as things shifted, even from the 60s, Democrats were pro-gun. Look at Kennedy. I mean, great guy, loved the NRA, life member. And now we've come here, 2023, and a Democrat platform actually has gun control, gun confiscation. If you read it, that platform is not a Second Amendment friendly platform. And of course, he's they're changing the narrative. It's ideological and it's partisan. And I really got an issue with what they're trying to do there. He even goes that there's historical reasons for gun ownership. He goes, and it became an issue and a partisan issue in ways that it shouldn't be. And that's what Obama said in this article. Well, yes, once again, they made it that way. But this is a fundamental right. There is no compromise. There is no other side. We have, in the 27 words enshrined in the Second Amendment, the right to keep and bear arms. And it's been upheld by the Supreme Court, by D.C. versus Heller, and by Bruin. I mean, this is not really even an argument anymore, but they keep pushing for gun control. And of course, they still use the thing, urban versus rural. They're even saying this is a race element, which I don't see it as one.
I don't get where he got that from either.
I don't either. I don't get it at all. And that it also involves issues of class and education. Not really. It's saying if you're upper class or lower class or your education level. Nothing to do with the Second Amendment.
Clay, I got friends that are millionaires who own guns, and I have friends that don't have two nickels to rub together usually that own guns. So I don't know how that's a class issue. And as you said, an ideological and partisan issue. I think we kind of hit on this before at some point, but he's right there, but Clay's right too, because they made it that way. And as to this day, I mean, I remember Obama on a weekly basis talking about banning, quote, assault weapons and we need universal background. Biden says it on almost a daily basis now. I mean, he's categorized basically every semi-automatic as a weapon of war, an assault weapon. And as we said before, every weapon's been a weapon of war. I can promise you that. Bolt actions, bow and arrows, you name it, it's a weapon of war. So, and the race issue thing, that's man. Obama doesn't seem like a bad guy, but when these guys start putting, that's a wedge issue. I hate when they drive wedges in like that. Again, I have black friends, Native Americans I know, white people, you name it, from all corners of the globe I know that own guns. It has nothing to do with your color, your skin, or what gun. I mean, urban versus rural. Yeah, I mean, urban people own guns, and I mean, a lot of people, or probably rural people do probably own more firearms than most urban people. It's just, I mean, it's your upbringing. That's how you were, and but as far as this deal Jay was talking about, his brother's keepers, that's great. That's great if you want to help young people remain safe from violent crime in their neighborhoods. I get that, but you know what happens when you do gun bans in those neighborhoods? The gangbangers and the bad people still have guns, and the good people who want a good neighborhood, they don't have guns, and they're left helpless and defenseless. So
Yeah.
Well,
I'm not sure what all he's going to do with that. But.
I'll add a couple things to that, with his foundation. To me, you want to talk about racism. He's basing that completely on your color. How is that not the opposite? This is insane. I'm so tired of this stuff. And we're seeing that in other places. And I'm not going to go into that rabbit hole today, but there's an actual new case out there that's been filed based just on that reasoning. Anyway, I want to go into the car safety thing that Obama compares car safety
I love this one all the time.
to the Second Amendment. And he talks about how, hey, if we got a bunch of accidents, then let's have seatbelt. Hey, that's not enshrined in the Bill of Rights. Nothing about cars. Mm-hmm. I think it's a right, but it's not enshrined there. And he talks about that seatbelts make cars safer. No, they do not. They don't make the car any safer or any more unsafe. It's the car. It's the person driving it. And if I choose to not wear one and I'm really pissed off about what the North Dakota legislature did, but it's my right if I want to fly around in my car, period. If I want to do that, that's just life. Life is dangerous. But to actually compare car safety with the Second Amendment, that's apples and oranges, and it has no bearing on it.
Yeah,
I wonder,
and a few more things. Go ahead, Jay. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. I was just going to say, I don't know a whole lot. You guys would know a little bit more about this than I would, but I'm not sure if you know that there was a basketball player. Did you know the Ja Morant story, what happened to him last week? So he had a gun, and he was flashing it around, and, of course, the commissioner didn't like that. I wonder, do you think Obama is speaking to the culture of inner city kids? Maybe is that what he's referring to? Because this Ja Morant, should be respected basketball pro athlete, he's going to get suspended for that.
I think he is probably talking to some of that, but I guarantee you most of what he wants to do is just get them guns out of there. He just thinks that's a bad deal. And like I said, I think if you do that, bad people are still going to have them. Like I said, there's not a doubt in my mind. I mean, there's so much gun control in Chicago, and over the weekend again, there was over 20 shot, and I think 4 people died. There's every kind of gun control you can have just about in Cook County there. But
well, in Obama, and I don't care what anybody says, he's a Marxist. He actually did a PBS interview calling the Bill of Rights the Bill of Negatives. He believes they're negative rights because it doesn't allow the government to do enough for you and protect you. That was his ideology. And that's right out of Saul Alinsky. I mean, rules for radicals. It's pretty easy to see where his ideology is. So I don't know if it has much to do. I think that's his narrative. That's the vehicle he uses, child safety. We're going to go kumbaya, everybody hold hands. I don't think that has anything to do with it. It's about power and control, and that's what that man's always been about.
So you talked about Clay when he was saying that with the car safety thing. All right, we got a bunch of accidents. Let's have seat belts. Let's make cars safer for our children. Okay, I agree, but guess what? When you want to make schools safer, other places safer, or hard targets, he's 100% against that. He does his way of doing that is to do more gun bans, and somebody who's ready to commit mass murder couldn't care less about your gun bans. I mean, if they got one. But yeah,
criminals break the law.
And then one more thing, I kind of struck something in my brain here. Right after that, if you remember that Pulse nightclub shooting they talk about in here in 20, and then he was out, talking about an assault weapons ban. Again, this guy padlocked the doors on the nightclub. Omar Mateen sat in there. The cops wouldn't come in. Nobody in there was armed. I mean, it was just a literal shooting gallery for this sicko. And I hate to tell you, Barack, but Omar Mateen, registered Democrat, my friend.
Yep.
All right.
Say, did you see that story earlier this week? I know that I aired it here on the KFYR Plus news desk, which was a guy who had he had an AR-15, but what he was doing was he was just out on the street, and it was near a child's
In
bus stop.
Massachusetts.
Yeah, Massachusetts, right? And
Yep.
I mean, as a parent, that's got to be a little leery, right? But as a gun owner, he has every right to be there, correct?
I tell you what, I'd be leery if I didn't go and talk to the guy. I mean, if I seen him there, trust me, I'd go up and say, "What's going on here?" and get his deal. And
Yeah.
I definitely could see, Jay, where people would be uncomfortable with that. I tell you,
Yeah.
like I said, if I knew the person and what they were, but because he was trying to make a point, right, that he can do the job that the police aren't doing for absolutely nothing. He can go out there and protect the kids at the school
Right.
bus stop, right? That was his point of doing it, which I do like when citizens do that. But if you're going to do that, in my opinion, maybe go talk to the police first and say, "Hey, here's what I'm doing." And if people get nervous and call the police or something, I wouldn't mind. We got a thing at our school here, my kids' grade school, called the Watchdog program. But obviously, they don't allow you to carry firearms in school
Right.
and that. But you stand at the crosswalks and you talk to the kids on the playground and then help them out and stuff like that. But I'm for that, but I mean, I definitely want to know who the person is doing it.
Absolutely.
Well, it brings up something I guess I've always contended with when you speak of that is maybe our police officers and sheriff's departments maybe they should have their own campaign reminding people this is legal to do. Yeah, if you want to make your point, maybe notify them so that when people do call in, they can say, "Hey, listen, here's what's going on. There's nothing to be scared of. It might not be a bad idea, just as a courtesy." I always think back to when I was in Rapid City, and I did it to make a point. I carried my AR slung across my back and my side with my single point. Wasn't hurting none. In fact, I was heading to the gun shop to do a little shopping, and I mean, I wasn't long. I had cops around me. Of course,
Yeah.
nothing happened because I know my rights in the law. And I told them all, I said, maybe you ought to inform people that this is legal in the state of South Dakota, rather than coming and harassing me because I was doing nothing. Should I maybe let them know? Maybe, but again, I'm a pretty stringent constitutionalist.
Yeah. I mean, if it's a good person they're doing, and they're not some weirdo or half cocked, I'm totally for that because I get nervous, Jay. I make a mental note when I drop my kids off at school what kind of clothes they're wearing, because if something happens, I'm not far from where I work to my place, and the school just across the street. I'll
Yeah.
tell you what, the way I see in reaction to a lot of this stuff that happens, I'm going in there. There's no doubt about it. I don't
Sure.
care if I get shot, but I got to get my kid out of there at least. And I mean,
Yeah.
it just breaks my heart when I think of them poor little kids, how they got to get shot like that, and they're just totally defenseless in there. I can't.
Brings to
Soft
mind the Uvalde
Yeah.
a year ago.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I did get my eyes watering a little bit when I read stories about that. It's unbelievable. I'd have said, shoot me in the back. I'm going in. You're going to have to shoot me instead of a kid or something, because I couldn't take it.
Okay, well, this shouldn't surprise us. The sales of firearms, especially the AR-15 style rifles, went up last month, driven by efforts in several states to impose the gun bans. Now, in recent months, concerns about safety has driven sales, and that, of course, continues today. JD, what that shouldn't be any surprising, should it?
No, and because a couple of these states are doing these big gun bans, and of course, whenever something gets banned, just like when Biden got elected, he promised to ban a bunch of stuff. Now they're doing it in states here, and just some numbers. Washington State, where Jay Inslee just passed a assault weapons ban, magazine capacity, I think waiting periods. I'm not sure if they had red flags or that, but it's we did that on your show, I think, right? Jay, sale, transfer.
Yep.
Any of that stuff you can't do anymore. So April sales surged to 71,272 this April. From last year, it was 49,640. That's a 43.6% increase in Washington. That's huge, right?
pretty
That's
big.
huge. And in Illinois, well, the federal court just blocked their assault weapons ban. Now the Supreme Court refused to hear that case yet because they kicked it back to the lower court. I mean, the gun banners.
It's not over yet. It's not over yet.
The gun banners think they won something there, but they did in the Supreme Court.
No.
Said go back to these lower courts, hash it over a little bit, because they tried to get a emergency and hearing in the Supreme Court. You got to leapfrog all these other cases, and they're like, no. But yeah, so in Illinois, that went up from last April to it went up 11.7%, and Oregon, which Oregon that's brutal. I'm so glad I don't.
I couldn't live there.
Yeah, they got on. So that was 43,574 were in April of 2023, and a year ago it was 27,900. That was up 56.1%. So yeah, you start banning firearms, which is you're right. It's a civil right, just like your freedom of speech and religion and privacy and all that stuff. You start banning rights like that, people start stocking up on stuff. You know, they're worried they're never going to be able to get it again there.
You know, the part I found interesting was in Illinois, how it, even at 11.7, but which seems small, it's really not. But they also have the requirement of their FOID card. You can't purchase firearms or ammunition in that state. So a lot of people have went through that infringement and that hassle to make sure they can, and they still showed almost a 12% increase. That's pretty astounding, really, when you think about the population in that area. And all the loopholes they have to actually go through. It's kind of amazing. Really.
I mean, so all those percentages are pretty big, right, Jay? But the biggest one I didn't mention, North Carolina, Roy Cooper, he vetoed a bill which the state-led Republicans took control of the House and the Senate there, and they passed a bill to get rid of this permit to purchase thing, which pretty much what Clay was saying, FOID card, what Illinois has. And their background checks jumped up for guns 238.4%.
Wow.
That is unbelievable to me. You know,
that is amazing.
Freedom works. People want to exercise it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's talk about this now, Clay. This is right in your wheelhouse. Let's talk about silencers. Let the viewers know, what is a silencer? How does it work?
Well,
do you need certain ammunition for a silencer, and is it legal in all states?
Well, and actually, I don't know if it's legal in all states. I imagine in places like New York and California, I know there's some pretty heavy.
They're definitely banned there. I'm almost sure.
And you have to have a $200 tax stamp to even have one, which is a whole nother
for each one, not just for all of them, for each.
But
each one you buy.
Essentially, a suppressor, and it'll surprise people how long they've really been around. But in a nutshell, there's gas. Gas is emitted when you fire a round, and it goes down the barrel. And then as the bullet leaves the barrel, well, a suppressor captures that gas with different chambers in there. We call them baffles now. And then it allows that gas to basically dissipate, which gives the effect of less sound. Now, it's not like the movies. It isn't completely silent. And it does depend on whether you're using supersonic or subsonic ammunition. And it all has to do with pressure, gas, and velocity. So really kind of a simple, honestly, it's a simple concept. And it was just applied to help out, as far as I'm concerned, sound. And to me, it's a hearing protection thing. We were using some this weekend at Second Amendment Day. And I mean, you could stand there and watch guys shooting some pretty, large rifle rounds, and that really you didn't need your hearing protection. And we were kind of in an enclosed small range at first and doing close quarter stuff. To me, a suppressor is probably the best thing ever developed. Like I said, it's been around forever. I don't know if you know this, but Huron Percy Maxim is the guy who made the first successful one, and he patented it in 1909. I didn't even know that till we come across this article.
Yeah, I knew. So, he invented mufflers too. He's the first guy who invented a car muffler.
Over 100 years, we've had suppressors. So it's not really a new thing. It's not really a dangerous thing, but of course we have to have our tax stamp on that.
And I got one of my two of the suppressors I got actually they're called Rebel suppressors. They were made in Texas out of aluminum, and they're kind of got Maxim's design where they got different baffle chambers. You can screw them together, and real light. Like I said, they're made out of aluminum. You can't do a lot of rapid fire with them. Obviously, they'll heat up, but that's kind of what Maxim's design is. So the design of them basically hasn't changed a whole lot. I mean, the shapes of them are like Clay can attest. The guy who was hosting the Second Amendment Day, that pistol one he had, that was kind of a strange looking It's on his 9mm, but he got
Well, it
round
worked
ones
good.
for that too. It did work good. Shotgun suppressors, I'd love to try a shotgun.
I want a
suppressor.
shotgun suppressor. I
I
do.
never have, and I don't know what happened to one of them, Jay. But you'll get a kick out of the video. He shot it. The bullet came out, but the suppressor wasn't on it. It blew his suppressor about 30 yards down range. I actually saw the video. Didn't hurt it. I thought for sure it was wrecked, and he came back and turned it back on. It worked perfect. But
So
maybe we
our
look for a new sponsor, Jamie. Say, hey, check this out. These are
There
tough,
you
no
go.
matter what you put them through.
So are you
That's
guys
a great
saying
idea.
that all these movies that I've watched, they just put a potato at the end of the rifle and it suppresses it like that? That doesn't work for me because I was going to get a bag of potatoes.
Yeah, that or you just put the pillow over the muzzle of it. And
Yeah,
it
there you
won't. It won't do that for sure. I mean, if you use, like Clay was talking, the subsonic ammunition, that's definitely quieter. I would say the closest thing, Jay, to movie quiet you will ever hear that I've ever heard, or you screw it on like a 22 rifle, and bolt action rifles are quieter than semi-automatics, and that thing. I mean, on a semi-automatic, basically you hear the bolt go back and you hear the lead, your bullet hit the steel target or the jug. It's just like literally tink tink. Like it sounds it's quieter than air rifle, Jay. You shot air guns, you know, they're quieter than. Yeah,
they're pretty quiet on a 22.
Yeah.
Even on a pistol, I got that Ruger, which is the 45 1911. If you know what that is, it has the frame of a 1911 45, but it actually has a 22
GSG Sport
chamber. Yeah, they're pretty awesome, and that's pretty darn quiet. I can tell you that. I have one of those, and even with my 30 caliber can, when I put it on there, really, really quiet. All you hear is that, and that's the closest you're gonna get to movie silence.
Yep. Yeah, it's they're nice. I actually tried. My buddy has a 22, and we were out with a 22 suppressor, and I put it on mine without subsonic ammo, and I mean that thing was still. I'm not saying like movie quiet, but it was nice. It was real. I think if you had that in your house, I mean, you'd never hurt your ears if an intruder came in and you had the right ammo, because the right 22 ammo will do something to you. I'll promise you that. But
You bet.
One thing I did, I'll jump in here. One thing I did like about Maxim silencer that we didn't really mention was he had an off-center attachment to his rifle barrel, and it makes sense because there wasn't a lot of optics around there. That way, it allowed people to use their iron sights, and I could see something like that coming back. I kind of like that idea. I don't know. It was a little more money to produce. Looked funny because it wasn't centered. You know, most of them now are. I don't even know if they make one off center. Everything's on center, and usually it's a round tube. But yeah, I kind of like that idea too.
That pistol one of Axel's is kind of odd shaped, and I noticed the shotgun ones. It's on like the lower part of them. I think they maybe do that for the bead. You know, so like you were talking about, Clay. But there's some strange. Like I said, some are strange looking, but they all work and they're great.
Yep.
I 100%.
think they're a great tool. They're a great tool.
Yeah.
I still don't understand why they're so restricted. We've tried many times through Congress changes. We know why, but
because most people think you're either using that for poaching or you're a criminal.
And that's what I was. My question was going to be, what would we use a silencer for?
Yeah, go ahead, Clayton.
To me, it's mostly hearing protection, honestly. It's called a safety issue, and they always want us to emulate Europe. Even in Africa, when you go over there to go on hunts over there, you can buy these things over the counter. Just walk up, and of course they're incredibly reasonable because there's none of this bureaucratic red tape above them. So you can buy them fairly reasonable with ease, but we can't do it right here in the United States. And they're really being used in hunting applications. Everyone always wants to talk about the hunting aspect of the Second Amendment. Here you have a piece of aluminum or steel. That's all it is, with a hole in it, trap gas to suppress sound. And we restrict it under the NFA, the National Firearms Act. And you have to go through a background check. Some people form a trust form and pay a $200 fee. That's what I call it, for each item. It's insanely crazy in my mind. But
hey, Clay, freedom isn't free, man. You pay for it.
Freedom isn't free.
So if you were to, Clay, go down hunting in, let's say, Africa and like you say, purchase one of those and you bring it back here to this country, would you have to register that and pay that, or how would that work out?
Well, from what I understand, the guys that have actually tried to do, they don't really allow a non-citizen to buy one. So it's
Okay.
kind of a moot point for us from the United States. But the people over there can buy them all day, every day. I do know people that go over quite often and have certain places that they actually hunt and shoot. People with more money than me because they make several trips. But they'll have the people there purchase them and keep them, at these lodges that they're
Sure.
staying at and these outfitters. And they own them, but they don't own them. And
Yeah.
they just get over there, and they'll leave their firearms over there at this point now when they're going so often, just to avoid that hassle. So, yeah, it can be done, but from what I understand, it's not with a non-citizen.
Yeah, if you bought one over there, Jay, and brought it, you could bring it back here, but you'd have to get I can't remember if it's a Form 4. I know you can make your own suppressors. People don't know that, but you have to get the serial number on it, and like I said, that form, and you can get them back actually way faster. My cousin's a machinist, and up at one of the mines, and he's done it before many times with it. His sound just as good as one you can buy. They work great. But I mean, you got to be a machinist. This guy's handy, super smart.
Well, I will tell you that there is one YouTube video thing that's probably true, or several of them. You can buy the adapters for those small oil filters.
Yeah.
And it works. It really does. Again, though, it's an illegal suppressor, but it does work. It's just, it's trapping the gas and it's suppressing the sound.
You get an adapter that matches the same threads on the oil filter, and I think it actually screws into the back of the oil filter.
Yes.
Yeah, it's nothing.
Sure.
I'm not gonna do it, but
no, but you shoot through it, and that makes the hole through it, and you're good to go. So I mean, it does work, but again, it's a felony.
Yeah. But so one more thing, quick, Jay. I did say, and I was telling you, I had the ones made out of aluminum. You actually can get them made out of. Most of them that I see are made out of stainless steel, and you can go rapid fire with those if you want. It's called machine gun rated, and you can do that. But I mean, if you got the money, I highly recommend going with the titanium one because they're stronger than steel and they're super light. It's almost like there's nothing on the end of your rifle. It's awesome. I know I was over at Man Down Sporting Goods last week, and he had some new titanium ones in there, and I was just like, whoo. I might have to get one of these, boys.
Definitely the way to go. Definitely.
Real quick, what are we looking for a price on a titanium versus steel?
Oh, you're $400 to $500 more at least.
At least, yeah.
Yeah,
I know.
Like a steel one, titanium as of now is going to be 11, 12, and a decent stainless steel one's, $550 to $800.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the titanium's worth it. Just the weight alone.
And almost every silencer company said, hey, you said silencer. The guy named them silencers when he made them. So, but they almost all of them have lifetime guarantees on their product too. So I don't know that I've seen one that hasn't.
Well, we're going to go ahead and keep the last topic for next time, gentlemen.
Yes, sir.
And we will catch up.
Hey, we on next Monday, or are we not?
We're going to be off. Memorial will be out celebrating our everybody. So next Monday we're off. So catch us in 2 weeks from now. But you're on Wednesday night. Tell us what's happening on 701 and the Guns in the 701 on Wednesday night.
You bet. Every Wednesday night, 6 Mountain, 7 p.m. Central. Clay and I do our live stream on Facebook, YouTube, and I don't know, occasionally we go on to Twitter. But yeah, you can come on there and just pretty much like we got going here on Jay's show. We're going to talk guns, outdoors, hunting, Second Amendment rights, stuff like that. Anything interesting in North Dakota. That's why we're Guns and the 701. We like to keep it local on stuff. And then every Friday, Clayton, and where you can catch us. One more thing, if you miss our live stream, get on iHeartRadio or any other podcast platform you listen to. You can listen to it there or watch a replay on any of the ones we stream to.
And when my recordings work, you can see in the crosshairs on the website as well. But so we have issues, I can tell you that. We'll get them worked out. When we do Jay's in the crosshairs here, we do get a lot lot of watching it too, Jay. So a lot of people
appreciate that. That's awesome.
Yep.
And then Friday morning,
KFYR 5:50 a.m. Todd Mitchell in the morning. We come on at 7:40 Mountain, 8:40 Central. And yeah, we're going to have some great topics. I imagine we're going to talk a little Memorial Day stuff coming up as well. And who knows? I'm sure we'll have a new poll result that we'll probably talk about.
That's right.
All right, gentlemen. Well, you have yourself a great week. Happy Memorial Day next week. And we'll catch up with you in 2 weeks. All right, guys?
You too, Jay. Thanks, buddy. Good seeing you.
Thanks, Jay. Keep your powder dry.
Love it. All right, guys. Take care.